focus on the issues that concern the Chennai residents, coming at a time when there is civic polls happening in the state after a decade. Skewed sewage and drainage system, waste management, power cuts, bad roads, public toilets, pollution and traffic congestion. These are some of the issues that people have spoken to us about, and we'll bring you those voices. As people grapple with these problems that affect their day-to-day life, the high-decibel campaigning for the urban civic polls in Chennai has ended, and the stage is now set for voting tomorrow. So from damaged stormwater drains and the frequent power cuts to the poor maintenance of public toilets and excessive pollution, there seems to be no end to the issues that people are now talking about in Chennai. Also remember, the incessant rains of November 2021 had brought the city and its neighboring districts to a standstill. The memory of those days also is something that the residents are sharing with us. We will bring you those voices, and of course we will talk about the issues that afflict the people of Chennai, especially areas that come under the Greater Chennai Corporation that was worst affected during the floods. Chennai residents are clearly angry and aggrieved about multiple civic issues, and that's how these civic polls assume a lot of importance, coming at a time that it has. Let's first go across to my colleague Mugilan, who's joining us live. Mugilan, you were talking about earlier as well on the number of issues that currently are playing in the minds of the Chennai residents. You've brought us those voices, but at the moment, a day before the polling, tell us, what are you picking up for us in terms of the preparations, arrangements that are made for the polling, and what people have to say?
Definitely the much awaited urban local body elections will happen today, and very elaborate arrangements has been made. More than 21,000 booths have been identified as sensitive booths, and security has been increased in those booths. And we have seen ADMK has already have started demanding a proper conduct of the local body elections, because this gains significance because when last 10 years there was no urban local body elections, and we spoke with numerous locals here in Chennai, and we could what we could listen to them is a list of issues what they are facing in their area or in their locality. Because what we could hear from the locals is that even though yes, there were special officers appointed by the Tamil Nadu state government which were running the local bodies, but they say that there is a huge gap between what their wants and what's being implemented on ground. And several activists, that is particularly the Resident Welfare Association, they allege that there is a huge corruption in several of the infrastructure works that was carried out in the city, especially here in Chennai, because people of Chennai are now used to bad quality of roads. And several activists and NGOs point out that this is because of the tender that's been issued by the government officials, is what the several allegations that have been mounted as there was no elections. So now people are looking forward, they are eager for these urban local body elections. When we speak about zones, that is 12 zones in Chennai, each zones have major issues, either it be bad roads or unfinished works or solid waste management. So people on daily basis, they undergo several issues because the elected representatives was not in place. Even the residents, they say they feel the absence of elected representatives, because as you rightly point out, either it be the rain in the month of November or the rain in the December, we have seen the entire city of Chennai coming to standstill, and several local residents, they had no clue about who to approach and where to approach, because there was no elected local representative. So all the people are, especially here in Chennai, are very eagerly looking for this election, and they have their list already, and they want the elected representatives to take up these issues on priority and fulfill it as promised.
Since we are talking about people and their concerns, let's listen into some of the voices that you spoke to earlier. These are Chennai residents. Like I said, they have a number of issues and concerns. Here it is.
When we go on the roads, the pedestrian side, there's no respect for pedestrian or what? The cycle paths have not been maintained. The children cannot cycle and go to school, and many other problems, as you all know. It's not one or two. There are so many. But only we are very happy that these elections are happening. And I call on to every citizen to come forward and give their vote. And that will help us to bring a mayor who will be fit to make Chennai a beautiful city. Isn't it, Vijay?
Yeah, ma'am, how do you see the importance of this election, ma'am? Because now this is being held after 10 years. As ma'am rightly pointed out, during last deluge, we saw the entire area was underwater. How do you see the importance of holding this local body elections now?
It is very important, and we are very happy with the elections. We'll have some representative to go and present our problems with.
So we need this election, and moreover the local election body, so that we can get a local person who will going to come to know about our problems and they can solve. So we need this election, and we're going to vote.
There have been several allegations of huge corruption because there was no elected representatives in place, and they were saying that there were officials who were colluding with the several contractors and not properly laying down the road. So we have another resident here. Sir, you being a daily commuter, sir, we are seeing most of the people are complaining about poor road or substandard road quality, sir. How do you see it, sir? And how do you think that this election will help to solve that issue?
Yeah, especially in the recent floods in this area, our KK Nagar, surrounded by it's like island. The roads have been damaged heavily in the waterlogging. So many trucks, lorries have been damaged in the roads. So we are severely affected.
Let me welcome Mr. Arun Ram, resident editor, Times of India from Chennai, joining us. Pleasure to have you with us, Mr. Arun Ram. We were playing out voices of the people from Chennai, and people are still recovering from the memories of what they went through during those devastating floods of November last year. At the moment, as a Chennai resident, which are the factors that you think will play out the most when it comes to voting tomorrow?
See, the problem is, before I come to the point, the problem is as much as we have memories, we are also very forgetful. So the floods were a very bad memory, but then within a month, we are talking about other things. We have forgotten about things. We are not even looking at the stormwater drains, how functional they are. Back to the point, I think, yes, flooding and drain system in Chennai, one of the oldest cities in the country, that is, which still has more than 100-year-old, underground pipelines carrying water and sewage, sometimes even mixing. I think that's going to be a big issue beyond politics. All said and done, Chennai is a very political city, so the DMK and the AIADMK do get a large share of their votes from their committed voters. But still, I would say when it comes to a civic body polls, about 30-40% of people might still consider civic issues, the neighborhood problems, more than their politics, yes. Hopefully. Mm-hmm. If that is the case, I think flooding and stormwater drains will be top of mind for them while they go cast their vote. Also, besides, of course, like in any other city, we have the problems of drinking water, pure drinking water, potable water not reaching all neighborhoods. And we have bad roads, we have garbage, like any other Indian city for that matter. So all these things are going to matter a lot. But the priority of these issues in different regions would be different. Chennai is a city of about 200 wards. With about 15 zones. So in different areas, the issues could be different, but broadly, these will be the things which will be a deciding factor beyond the Dravidian political balance. Besides all this, I would say that corruption will be an issue, at least among the first-time voters, which I think is a significant number this time because Chennai hasn't had a civic polls in 11 years, yes. Which means at least one term was missed. So people who are even in their late 20s have not voted in a civic poll. So the first-time voters would constitute a considerable number. And many of these young people do take corruption, bribe-taking as a serious matter, more than the people who have got used to it, I feel. So corruption, I think, is going to be a factor which might go against both the DMK and the AIADMK because both these parties are known for taking money. Their corporators, the councillors are known for taking money to get things done, small or big. So I think that is where probably in some places independents or even candidates of Kamal Hassan's MNM or Seeman's NTK might take away a lot of votes.
Yes.
especially of the younger voters.
Okay, let me also have Mr. Dayanand Krishna, who's a civic activist, joining us on the program. Welcome, sir. Please tell us, from your point of view, that at a time like this, after 11 years that the civic polls are being held, of course, one can understand that without the polls, without having the civic representatives, many of the local issues must have gone unaddressed. Do you think that for the people, that's why this particular election will assume a lot of significance, and what, according to you, will be the main factors playing out?
Definitely, it will play a very vital role, madam, because since there is this elected representative is going to belong to the local ward. So they have to definitely participate and address the civic issues well. Otherwise, when they come for the next term of elections, they might face a setback. So they should have a firm commitment so that they bring real change. And it is very good so that they represent all the roads and they take care of all the basic civic issues, starting from street lights to road potholes and drinking water issues. So these things will be taken care by them so that basic improvements will happen in a good manner. But what we want more is we'd like to have a very vibrant civic society participating. So we need a area sabha kind of concept to be implemented in the city corporation so that the representatives from the Residents Welfare Association or some NGOs also can take part in this ward sabha, and ward committee should be formed. So they get a fair chance to represent their civic issues through the councillor, and it reaches the council and it becomes a people's corporation. So this kind of things has to be implemented in the new corporation, because now you see a lot of flooding issues in Chennai city. And we feel that people have to represent those things. And if they are given a chance, then only we could get solutions in a proper manner. And related to Chennai city, there are some major issues also has to be taken. Coming to climate change impact, it will be very severe. Recently, Chennai had within 3 hours a 20 centimeter rainfall. They call that Chennai has been designed smartly, and the smart city program has been implemented in T Nagar, and which was very severely flooded. So the reason is like there is no real-time monitoring of flooding. So there is a big mistake, and there is no terrain study being done. So these things also has to be taken a serious note. And since we have an elected representative now, and the people will be very easy to access them and inform them, keep them well informed, so that when they represent in the council, they can address the issue of flooding, and future climate change impact can be very much reduced.
Yes,
and public transport issues. Yeah, public transport issue is also very bad in Chennai. So we don't know when the buses are going to come and when it's going to leave the bus stop. So we need a integrated public mobile app for the transportation system, so that people can very much stick on to the public transport. So that is also very good for Chennai city.
Okay, these are very important suggestions. Madam. Thank you, Mr. Krishna. I want to take one quick last word from Mr. Arun Ram again on the issue of how is this going to be a litmus test for the AIADMK and the DMK, because the state has seen both the regimes. And of course, this is happening across, the civic polls are happening across the state, even though we are focusing on Chennai. How, in that sense, do you think this is important politically for Tamil Nadu?
Politically, it's significant because the DMK government is less than 10 months old. And I think it also gives it an advantage, because always the party which is in power at Fort St. George has an upper hand, as an advantage. That's what the history of civic polls and by-elections show. Also, 9 months, 10 months is still just out of the honeymoon period. So Stalin may not find a big backlash. And many of the problems of the city can be conveniently put on the shoulders of the previous government. So politically, I think the DMK will be on a better wicket. And Chennai especially has been its fort for several decades, till 2011 when Jayalalitha really broke it and barged into the citadel of DMK. So it's going to be interesting. because in a typical ward there might be 25,000 to 30,000. Maybe some of the wards have just 10,000 votes. So there is a sense of unpredictability. But at the same time, I think politically, looking at it, DMK appears to have an advantage.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Arun Ram, for joining us. And also, let me also thank our other guest, for the civic activist, Mr. Dayanand Krishna, for joining us today. This is an important conversation and we'll continue to track civic issues in Chennai. Thanks very much.